This is Darren Fink with Transfiguring Adoption. And I'm trying to, I lost everyone on here. There we go. Hoping everyone's doing really well. You have stumbled upon our caregiver check-in. The caregiver check-in, let me tell you guys what our caregiver check-in is not. Our caregiver check-in is not legal advice. It is not medical advice. It is not an excuse or a way for you to justify going against your caseworker. This is a way for us as caregivers and professionals to all come together and to encourage each other so we can take care of kids better than when we started the week. So we're going to be talking here in a little bit here. I want to say hey to Ann and Shelby. Thanks you guys so much for coming in here and watching with us. We have a special guest with us right here. And before I introduce Leigh Anne, I want to hear from you guys. It seems like I was just talking with someone else that provides services for foster and adoptive families. And we were both talking on the phone saying that we both feel like we can't keep up with the amount of information coming at us with the coronavirus situation. It seems like we turn around and there's something new already going on. I want to know from you guys that are watching. Hey, Christina, from all of you guys that are watching at home, probably with the kids, on a scale from 1 to 10, where are you guys at with health-wise as a parent? 1 being I'm down and out, I'm drowning, help, help. 5 being neutral, and 10 being I'm doing amazing. I've got it all together. So let's see some numbers on here. Again, 1 is I'm drowning, 5 is I'm neutral, and 10 is I'm doing amazing with everything that's going on. So let's see those numbers here. And I'm going to turn things over to Leigh Anne Goldstine. She has been just amazing to be able to come with us tonight. I really wanted Leigh Anne to be on here because I've heard so many of us caregivers talking about just how the stresses of having the kids home all the time, just a lot of things are going on. And I wanted Leigh Anne to kind of talk us through, to talk some peace. Leigh Anne is a counselor with the Built to Bond Attachment Institute. Leigh Anne, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I've been doing this work with attachment challenged children since 1988, and the Lord just led me into it. I don't want to spend a whole lot of time talking about myself. What I'd really like to do is spend more time focusing on what it's like for people having all these kids of trauma who are triggered fairly frequently being home together without
absolutely
caregivers.
So again, you guys, Leigh Anne's been on our show before. She is amazing. She wants to help you guys. She has a lot of experience. So this time we're going to be talking about parenting in a socially distanced world. So we're being asked, I've heard from so many people that they feel like they're cut off from their support system. Christina put up there that she's at a 3 out of a scale of 1 to 10 as far as health-wise. I want to say hey to Mariana and Elena and Kim for joining with us. Where is everyone? Again, I'll reiterate that question, and then I want to hear from you guys as our lag is catching up with you guys. Are you guys, from a scale of 1 to 10, being home with your kids and having a lot of I've heard the word unprecedented used more times than I care to hear. How are you guys doing? 1, I'm drowning. 5, I'm neutral. 10, I'm amazing. I'm doing great. Hey, Paula. How are you guys all doing? Leigh Anne is a counselor. Again, this is not legal or medical advice, but she really wants to help and encourage you guys. And we're going to have a conversation here and answer your questions. So anything that you guys want to throw out at us. Leigh Anne, one thing that I have heard, I've heard some situations of people come to us and they're just wondering what to do because they feel like they're cut off from their normal support system. Like they had a community and now it's gone because they're being asked to stay at home all the time. Have you heard anyone like that lately, or what are you thinking with that? Like, what should people be doing?
it's the same with here in Tennessee. What I'm recommending is FaceTime. The people use other social media outlets just to be able to get support routine in their house. That makes sense. And to be able to enable some of these kids to do things that help them maybe reach out to others in the community, such as things like making cards for the elderly, doing, little, whether it's a coloring sheet or just something that they can do where at some point they'll know that it'll go to somebody else who maybe is in a nursing home or at a hospital and can't visit with anybody, and just to let them know that people care about them. Because I think it's important for us to turn the focus, at least with these kids. I know we're talking about adults getting support too, but the kids being able to turn the focus off of what they're not getting to do and maybe give them some power and control back to be able to say, I can help somebody else in a situation who may be a little worse off than me.
And I think, I feel like that helps put things in perspective too, right? Like, I feel like if we're not always thinking about our situation, it's helping to replay things and put things into some sort of perspective for us.
The other thing that people can do is go back to sending cards and letters in the snail mail, which people don't do. But years ago, people wrote down, I had pen pals that, would anxiously await for a letter to arrive in the mail. And with people being cooped up for weeks and possibly months at a time, I think that's a neat thing that kids can do if they have a school roster or something, and you can make a handmade card or just send a handwritten note. I miss sitting next to you in English class, or, that kind of thing.
So I teach English part-time in the mornings to 2 kids in China. And it's interesting that you're talking about that, because one of the things that I constantly am asking the kids, because in China, they've been quarantined to their high-rise apartment. Like, they can't even go outside since January. And I always ask my kids that can speak pretty good English, I ask them, so have you been talking on the phone to your friends? How are your friends? And it's amazing to me how that my kids are just more than not that likely, they're like, no, I haven't talked to them. And I feel like they're almost depressed, or because they haven't talked with their friends. So it's interesting that you're talking about cards and different things like that. Is that important to make sure that we're keeping in touch with the outside world?
Well, I think so. And certainly, even if the person doesn't receive it right away, it's an automatic for us that we feel we connected. You know what I mean? Like, if you think about, again, because I grew up in a day when we actually did send cards and notes to people, that, when you put it in the mailbox, it's like, oh, I've sent this message off and I'm connecting, and then you can anticipate getting a response back. I think overall, because we do have a lot of homeschoolers that are foster and adoptive parents, so they're accustomed to being home anyway, but this is just a great way to get out there and be practicing writing skills or drawing skills, just, hey, hello, thinking about you today kind of thing.
Christina says that she has a friend that's a principal in a school that's trauma informed, and he, I guess he's calling each of his students to stay connected with them. So that's pretty amazing.
Awesome.
Yeah. So just to reiterate, you guys, there are a lot of people. So I want to say hey to Amy and Kyle for coming in, and Paula. We're talking with counselor Leigh Anne Goldstine. We're talking about parenting in a socially distanced world. This is a new situation for a lot of us, and I've heard so many parents just talking about how they feel isolated, how they feel closed off from their support system. So we don't have a set thing to talk about per se, but just get your questions and your comments in, and we would love to talk about those and help you guys as much as possible. So we're just talking about staying connected with the outside world. what do we, I've had a lot of Facebook memes where parents just feel like they're drowning already. And some of them, to be honest, are homeschoolers, that they're homeschool all the time. But I don't know if it's just the extra stress of the situation or what. They just feel like they're drowning in this. What can we do as parents so that our family doesn't feel like they're drowning in this situation?
Well, I'm EMDR trained, and one of the things that we're beginning to do now, since we're doing telehealth appointments or telemed appointments, because we can't have kids coming into the office, and y'all can Google this, is just teaching kids the butterfly hug, which I don't know if you can see me. I can turn that and see if I can do that. That's basically an EMDR technique that helps with calming and relaxation, and the child will just alternate on the shoulders, and they can deep breathe, and that helps with some calming and relaxing. Y'all can look that up. That technique has been taught to and used in war-torn countries and places where you have maybe one or two mental health care workers, and you've got like 1,000 kids whose village has been ravaged. Making sure, again, that people are getting good nutrition, lots of good sleep, exercise out when they can.
What about watching the news and stuff like that? I always wonder about, with watching the news, I want to stay connected to the outside world. I feel like the news can do that. Is too much news, is that a thing?
Well, I think you have to see it through the eyes of these children, because if you have a parent who's constantly on their phone checking for updates, that can cause, I know there's a very legitimate concern right now about people's health, but if a parent's constantly looking up that kind of stuff, or it's constantly on the TV, it's the same that happened. I was rearing kids during 9/11, and kids didn't understand that, and people are talking about it, and it can be kind of confusing and overwhelming. So I think you stick to maybe one update a day in the morning and the evening, make sure it's a legitimate source, and just continue to do the things that they're asking everybody to do.
Amy said that she is a family support specialist, and she said, thank you for the idea about the cards. She said, I think I'm going to send cards to all my parents to encourage them for this week. So she said, thanks for the idea.
You're welcome. The other thing is, for people who live in neighborhoods, if there's people in the next house over that maybe can't get out and play, you can also do the same thing by sending them a card and doing a kind of ding dong ditch them, put the card on the door and ring the doorbell and wave and that kind of thing.
Christina says, thanks for that, for the MDR, the butterfly hug. She said, I have a kiddo that was in the middle of EMDR therapy, making good progress, and we're now going backwards with no therapy because of all this.
No, you can have them do that. Another thing that go online and look up some of the things that if they used like finger follow or the lights, you can have them like sit in a room in a chair and alternate looking at the right corner, the left corner, the right corner, the left corner, and doing that. A lot of the kids that I work with, though, were born drug exposed, and so they can't do the finger follow because their eyes go in opposite directions instead of following together. That's why the tapping works really well. It's self-induced. They can do it. They can also do it on their knees, which you can't see me doing. I'm just alternating on my knees. But this kind of gives them a hug. Some kids don't like that. It feels a little too intrusive to them. And so doing crisscross applesauce and doing it on the knee is helpful.
What about the other thing I think that I see the most on Facebook with our parents talking is just the idea that now a lot of them are responsible for homeschooling. I think that's completely, let me hear from you guys. A lot of you guys that are on here probably are doing homeschool now. And that's a stress. Like they were just even talking about it on the news before I came up, like talking about parents having to figure out where kids were at in school and what to do and different things like that. Is there that can be a lot to put on our shoulders, plus the fact that our children have special needs. What do we do so that we keep our cool?
Well, I think that you have to remember that these kids are often triggered by this kind of stuff, and if they haven't been taught by you before because they've been taught in a regular school setting, whether it's public or private or whatever, that you can only do what you can do. The attachment piece is the most important part, where you're helping them to feel connected in and safe. And again, it's one of those things where you have to remember, really every other parent in the country is doing the same thing. So hopefully schools are going to give papers and things like that. Sorry, I need to let my dog out.
No, you're fine. And I think that's something really important, is what Leigh Anne was talking about, is just, I feel like it can be easy to feel like, I feel like even in normal times, I feel like things are going, I might be the only one struggling with something. But now even more so, because I'm being asked to stay away from people.
Right. And again, I think schools are universally going to have to, I know in Tennessee, they're waiving the T and ready tests and some of those things. And I think they're probably just going to have to get people to turn in some level of work. When you got these kids who have control issues and you're trying to sit down at a table and say, you got to do this, you got to do it, it ratchets them up a lot. So just remember, as much as you can be calm yourself, and if they're using controlling behaviors and crying, I don't want to do this, I can't, you just say, I understand that, I'm sorry, that's how you're feeling, and we'll get back to it in a little bit.
So Christina says, we have luckily not been asked to teach our kids at this point. If I have to do that, I'm going to go more crazy. I have 4th, 7th, and 12th grade, 3 with PTSD and 1 with secondary PTSD.
Well, and then you're going to have vicarious trauma as well.
Right? A little crazy goes a long way.
I think the schools, from what I'm hearing, at least here, are gathering packets together and so forth. And so I think they're doing what they can just to get educational materials in front of kids. I also hear that a lot of the educational companies that have online things are beginning to allow that to happen. So there's different programs that I think you may be able to sign on for and just get your child to do a certain number of minutes per day with math or whatever.
And I think that's true. And I think, I agree with it, don't agree with it. It was interesting to me that I had another friend that she was talking about, she's trauma informed, and she was talking about school, and she's like, her saying is C's still get degrees. It might even have been D's still get degrees, with the whole thinking where she said, let's pay attention to the attachment. Let's pay attention to how I'm connecting and bonding with my child. And if they got D's, well, they can correct that later.
Well, and just remember, lots of other kids are in the exact same boat. It's not just your children who may be struggling with a subject at home. Lots of other kids are going to be doing that. And you have to think about some of these kids the parents who are on here tonight are being concerned about their kids' education. I worked for years with agencies that did contracted work through cases with the Department of Children's Services. And those parents aren't sitting home and doing math for their kids. So, I think you just have to look at, I'm trying to do my best, and connection is more important right now, and we'll get through doing some of the pages, maybe giving frequent breaks and trying to do some online resources that are fun.
Yeah, and that's one thing about it too, is there are a lot of things that I think that our parents could say that they didn't realize they were signing up for when they started to foster. Um, and this might be one of them. I didn't sign up for being quarantined to the house and have to be a school teacher all of a sudden while still trying to make a living.
Right. Exactly.
Amy says, we homeschool already, and this change in schedule is hard. This has to be harder for families who have had everything turned upside down. And you know, that, like I said, I was talking to another person that offers services to foster and adoptive families, and she's also an adoptive mom. Um, and we were just talking about how we're just amazed how both of our families, we work from home and we homeschool, and at the same time we're feeling this. Um,
Mhm.
and so I'm not sure. I'm with you, Amy. I'm not sure how other families are doing it. I hear ya. Christina says, I've recently gone back to school online, so trying to keep up with my own classes is a challenge, lol. Working on a degree in counseling, so this class is social psychology, kind of funny timing. You could do a dissertation on yourself.
I know.
That
That's great. Good
is
for
great.
her.
So so we're talking about, as far as, if you guys are just joining us, I'm seeing some folks jumping in here just now. So we're talking about parenting in a socially distanced world with the coronavirus situation going on. A lot of people being quarantined to their house. Almost ironic. We're asked to pay attention to attachment and bonding with our children, but yet right now we're asking to kind of isolate ourselves. Um, what are there anything, can you think of any activities or anything that are, that's the other thing that I see a lot of people, they're just running out of things to do besides watch TV. And they're not even, I think a lot of parents don't want their kids to be on devices,
Yep.
but they're just running out of stuff and they don't know what to do.
Well, interestingly enough, you can go back to activities that we used to do when I was a kid, like playing, a card game of war, Uno, pickup sticks, jacks, things like that. Of course, you have to take into account that some of the kids that we serve, hold on, I got to let the dog in.
No worries. What are some of the games that you guys have been, and activities that you guys have been doing at home to pass the time? Because I know that, like, not everyone thinks of the same activities. What were you talking? Uno and Jacks?
Well, I was saying like pickup sticks and things like that, and just remembering that our kids get triggered. So I was thinking earlier today that the one big thing that parents have to really keep at the forefront of their mind is, what are my children's triggers, and kind of prioritize them and know what are the things that trigger them most. So like if social skills, sharing, taking turns, waiting patiently, right? Losing a game, for instance, is what's going to trigger them. Then you'll have to set up some activities like, would you do more solitary types of things, or one on one play, or side by side? If you did things like war, it's a great way to, as somebody gets upset because they're losing their cards, you can stop and we're going to all just take a break and deep breath it for a second. If you need a break, you can step aside. But I think it's a great way to, whether it's a matching game or just anything like that, that you can do.
Absolutely. Well, and I feel like, is it okay to declare that it's just quiet time for everyone and like send everyone to their rooms? Is that, I
Absolutely.
think I have parents that think, oh, that they're going to think that they're being punished.
Well, I think if you present it in a way that says, because we're all together during the day, right, and we're all right on top of each other, right, it's good for us to have a bit of a break from everybody, and you find a solitary activity, read a book, or write a letter or something like that, and just pick an amount of time where, whether it's 30 minutes or 45 or an hour or whatever, that you're going to have the quiet time, and set the timer so that the kids know, even older kids sometimes when they go off in their room, it causes a disconnect, and so they get nervous about that. But if you let them know when the timer goes off, we're all going to come back together.
Right.
You could also be doing some cooking activities together, or just things like that. You probably don't. I used to recommend that people do things like make pictures out of dried rice and beans, but you probably don't want to do that right now because everybody's hoarding all that.
Yeah, right. No toilet paper roll crafts right now until the roll's done. Hey, I wanted to say hey to Shay and Sandra. Yep, go ahead.
I was just going to say, but what you could do is take crepe paper and pipe cleaners and make flowers that you drop off at a nursing home to brighten someone's day, or a care facility or something like that.
Absolutely. And then that, again, what we were talking about earlier, gets the whole, I'm thinking about other people's situations and not how bad I have it.
Right. Well, think about little, like there are kids with cancer or whatever, and they're in children's hospital or other, and they're not being able to interact with other kids on the ward, and they're limiting the amount of people who can come visit them. So those kids are really isolated and alone. So maybe if we just have kids maybe once a day come up with a little list of gratitude, what they're grateful for that day, somebody who may be worse off than them, and maybe that's during your devotional time what you choose, for them to pray about and to watch over kids in this area or kids over here.
Absolutely. We have Steve. Steve says that he makes comic book flowers. I don't know if that's with his kids or if that just is in general, he makes comic book flowers. That's great. Yeah, let us know what you guys' crafts are and what you do in your free time while you're being held in quarantine. Christina says we're doing rotations, crafts, puzzles, reading, one episode of TV, a few extra chores to keep up with everyone being at home, and some quiet time.
Perfect.
It sounds like a schedule too, so I'm pretty impressed with that.
Yep, I think that the big thing is predictability, because if you think about it, that's when things go off the rails, when kids are at home at Christmas or they're home at summertime, because there's not a whole lot of predictability, and our kids really thrive on that. So if you can try to keep to a structure and routine, because your brain is really hardwired right now for getting up at a certain time and going to school and so forth.
Amy says
meal time's the same, but you can get kids involved in meal time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Amy
says we only do 2 hours of screen time a week due to it being a trigger for mine. We alternate between together time and alone play time. It is possible, but not always easy.
Well, and again, as the parent of a kiddo, you're more versed in what your children need. So these are just sort of overarching recommendations, and they're going to work better for some, and you may have to tweak that in a different way for other kids.
Absolutely.
Some kids can use that togetherness, and some are fine. The challenge is going to be for the ones who don't want connection and go off on their own, being able to draw them back in.
Absolutely. Yeah, so I'm interested too. We have a lot of people that have just joined in with us. Just so you guys know, hey, Melissa, we're talking about parenting. We're trying to encourage each other, share tips. We're talking with counselor Leigh Anne Goldstine about parenting in a socially distanced world. So if you guys have, the way the caregiver check-in works, if you guys have questions or comments, please get those in and we'll discuss those. And Leigh Anne would really be glad to field those. But let us know how you guys are doing while we're being asked to socially distance ourselves. And what are you doing to survive and thrive during this time? So I like that because we do need a lot of predictability because our kids do thrive on that. Is it how for those people that are, I guess, very structured adults themselves? Does that mean that we have to have every minute of every day planned out?
No, but I'm thinking about things like where you have meal times that when you have everybody home, you can kind of drag that out a little bit when you have helpers, you know, if you're using paper plates, things like that, having people set the table, having somebody else responsible for pulling out the cereal bowls and people doing that. And, you know, you can pull out measuring cups and measure a certain amount or practicing math in doing that. Maybe they're practicing with a safe knife, keyword safe, cutting up bananas or fruit, or if you're doing sandwiches, you know, making those circle sandwiches with a little press. I mean, my boys, when they were home, they used to love to do that kind of stuff. And we had a banana cutter, and they would love to cut it up and dip the bananas in peanut butter. And I'm just thinking those are all also sensory activities that kids can do that take up more time than just a mom who slaps out, you know, 5 PB and J's and puts them on the table and says, "Come and eat."
So, and really, we can look at it as this is an opportunity to spend time with our kids that we wouldn't normally have. And we might not get another, because a lot of people are going to be understanding that we're not able to get the work done that we need to get done. They're going to be more understanding about the children not learning things at home. There's just going to be a lot more give here with things. What do you have any, I guess, does anyone have any suggestions or ideas? What do you do? Because we're always talking about self-care. How do you do self-care when everyone's right on top of each other and you can't necessarily go to the gym or you can't go get ice cream at the store or something like that?
Well, that may be something that people can make a list of what's a primary self-care and what's a secondary self-care. If having some quiet time several times throughout the day, like 30 minutes here and 30 minutes there, doing devotions, being able to have family prayer time, taking a walk in the community. You may not be able to go to the gym, but you may be able to walk around as a group.
Right. And even Christina said, self-care, ha ha ha. So I think she's feeling the self-care crunch there. I hear that. And this is temporary, right? Like, is that another way to look at it too, that this is temporary?
Yeah, the other thing too is that in order to guarantee a little bit more quiet time as a parent, you might want to put your kiddos to bed 15 or 30 minutes earlier, because most parents have the tendency when children are out of school to let them stay up later, which means we have less time to ourselves.
Right. No, that's a good idea. And it just even makes sense too that if we're having a health scare, it makes more sense that, hey, you need to get to bed 30, 20 minutes earlier because we got to make sure that everyone's immune systems are up and firing. And I mean, I think it's okay to tell the kids too, right? Like, mom needs some time or dad needs some time.
Well, I think that absolutely you're being upfront with these kiddos and saying this is a strategic plan that we're developing so that we all come out of this alive and unscathed. Because you could laugh about that, but the reality is that when you put all kinds of kids with trauma together and triggers and things that we're triggered about, I mean, it kind of could be a disaster waiting to happen. So any plan that you can get in place as quickly as possible is only going to turn out better for everybody.
It was interesting, and I don't know what you said that just sparked it, but I had another adoptive mom friend. She said that she was on a blog site or something, and she said she was amazed to find the phrase, "I just have to be one day smarter than my kids." It's like, I don't have to have a whole curriculum planned out. I don't have to have a whole summer. I just have to be one day smarter.
That's good. That's good, Darren.
So I thought that was, I thought it was interesting because I think it's because you were talking about, hey, send the kids to bed 15 minutes early. That gives me 15 minutes to figure out what my game plan is for tomorrow, just so that I have my ducks in a row for the next day.
Well, and I know that people talk about being off electronics and things like that, but there really are a lot of good educational sites out there. And I was doing a bonding assessment in another state a couple of weekends ago, and an interesting thing is I was trying to observe some kids over here, and the mom set up, and I don't remember what it was, but she set up something on the computer, and I mean, these kids were like, when's my turn? When's my turn? I can't wait to do math, or, you know, whatever it was. So, I mean, that may be something that you can rotate into throughout the day, because that takes at least one kid out of the mix if you've got them on an electronic and somebody in the waiting.
And I found that, you know, we have Disney Plus right now, and we usually don't have electronics Monday through Friday, but man, there's some great documentaries on. We watched a documentary on Amelia Earhart, and the kids actually wanted to watch it a second time. And now they're spouting off all this information about Amelia Earhart that I probably never want to know or remember, but I'm getting it, and at least they're learning, you know. So I think it's great.
Yeah, one of the other things that you can do is look up some videos and things, or posts or documentaries of like kids with trauma and their responses, and see if you can find something like that where, I mean, obviously you would have to sort of vet it ahead of time, because I mean, you don't want to be playing the boy called It, you know.
No.
And, right, but I'm just saying, like, I know there's a great video of a polar bear who's he's been traumatized, where they're trying to get him from one area to another, but anyway, he does this shaking that they talk about in trauma terms. It's something that the body needs to be able to do to shake off trauma. And there's all kinds of things out there that you can look up, and as a family maybe sit down and watch and then talk about it.
And hey, you guys, we are getting to that part that I get to every Monday, and I have to tell you guys, this doesn't mean to sign off. I'm just telling you guys, I'm giving you the 5-minute warning. We're going to be winding down here. So I need you guys to get in your last minute comments or questions to Leigh Anne now, before we wind down. And Leigh Anne, while the lag is catching up and they're thinking of their questions and comments, can you tell us, how do we keep in contact with you in between the next time that you're on our show? What services do you offer folks that live in Tennessee?
So you can always go online to my website, which is www.built, BUILT, the number 2, bond, BOND.com, and send an email inquiry to me. You can also text me or call me. My number is 865-809-9893. If you're looking for some quick information or just a consultation or something like that, I'd be glad to help you.
Absolutely. And is that for people in Tennessee, or we have some folks I know that are watching from outside Tennessee? Is that?
Yeah, I mean, as long as I'm not doing therapy, because I'm not licensed to practice in other places. But if it's just a matter of giving somebody some helpful suggestions or things like that.
And I have Leigh Anne's website on the comments, so please, you guys, go visit her website. You can get other contact information on there. She's a great resource. You have no idea. So you need to definitely keep in touch with her and connect with her. I'm not seeing any more comments or questions, you guys. I hope that means that you guys are all answered up. And maybe we do. Yep, Christina says, thanks for the ideas tonight. Everyone stay safe and sane. Real quick, you guys, I am going to let you know that hey, Daphne, we are going to be doing another movie watch party this Saturday. So Saturday at 5:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, our Transfiguring Adoption crew, we have about 6 of us. We're going to be on a Zoom platform that's like this, where Leigh Anne and I are talking with each other. We're going to be watching the movie Big Hero 6. So at 5:45, we're all going to sync up. At home, you're going to sync up your TV to look like our screens, and we're all going to hit play together, and we're going to watch. The fun part is the kids are going to be watching the cartoon. The adults, we're all talking and horsing around and having fun, chatting on there. The last one we watched this last Saturday was Lilo and Stitch. When we got done, the adults all looked at each other and said, did we even watch the movie? We had so much fun talking and horsing around. So you guys definitely want to join us. That's going to be on this website or on this Facebook page next Saturday, 5:45 p.m. Yeah, that's all I had, I think. Hey to April and Daphne for joining in with us. Hope you guys will watch this later here.
Hey, Darren, will you send me that link so I can send it to some of my parents?
Absolutely. We will. The other thing, we don't know how this is working out yet. We just talked with author Robert Beatty. His manager said that he's an author with Disney Hyperion. He has historical fiction, I guess is what it's called, book on the Biltmore out of Asheville.
Oh.
It's written for tweens. We are allowed to do a series of readings of the book online. So we're going to try to pull that together so you guys can have your kids listen in on that story, and maybe you get a breather too during this time. So
well, that's great for here because we're so close to Biltmore.
Well, and if you go visit the Biltmore, all of the staff know everything about the book, and they'll show you everything down to the secret passages that are used in the book and tell you exactly what page, what happened. And it's
cool.
for East Tennessee, it's amazing. It's amazing. You need to read the book. It's a fun read. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us. Leigh Anne, thank you for being here tonight. Thanks for making room in your schedule.
My pleasure.
Appreciate you. We miss you.
I miss y'all.
We need to next time that you're down here, next time we're up there, we need to coordinate something.
I know. I'm never there because my mom moved here, so I don't have a home to go to and a pool to swim in.
Well, we're going up to Knoxville hopefully in the summer, maybe. Like if the event doesn't get canceled, we'll be up there.
All right. Keep me posted. I'll talk to you guys later.
Thank you guys so much. Hope we're helping you to nurture and grow your foster and adoptive families. Thanks, you guys. Good night.